Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to the series for my tabletop game, Your World. And today we got something really awesome happening. I have a couple close friends of mine helping me playtest my game. But before they can play it, they have to make characters, right? So I'm going to introduce them really quickly. Luke, could you introduce yourself?
Hey guys, hey Joel. Yeah, my name is Luke. And I've played D&D with you, Joel, a couple times. I'm still very new to this tabletop genre. So I'm just looking forward to this and kind of diving a little bit deeper into it. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for helping me out with this. It means a lot. And also we have my good friend Maggie as here. Yeah, introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Maggie. Um, I am completely new to this tabletop genre of things. However, I am really interested in fantasy movies, shows, etc. So I'm a big Harry Potter nerd, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, all the kind of fun things. So yeah, I'm excited to give this a try.
Awesome. So we're gonna have them make their characters. So for those of you watching on screen, I'm gonna go down to the chapter one introduction, which has all the different sort of high level parts of character creation. Maggie and Luke, you guys can also in the playtest document. It's on about page 3. It says chapter one introduction. The important part for you guys is where it says character creation aspects of characters. Below it says there are many things that make up a full character. You can see below. These are the most essential and core aspects of your character, and will be the order that you will build them in. So first, you're gonna make your ancestry, which is like your biological background. So if you're like a dwarf or an elf or like a fish man, which is like a half fish, half person type of person. And then after that, your background. So it's kind of like your occupation or your expertise. So maybe you were like a soldier or like an artist or something like that. That's just kind of like your personal history of the life you lived before you became like an adventurer, basically. And then class comes next, and that's like the core of your fighting style or your powers, pretty much. Then after that, we will pick your skills and stats. Skills are like numerical reflections of your expertise. So, for example, if you're like a hunter who's really good with their agility, they might grab the stealth stat, which is associated with agility. Or someone who's very aware might grab perception, so they can just see things and find things better. But so that's a lot of like the numerical stuff that will help define your character. And then after that, feats, which are like little like abilities to kind of further refine your character. I know that probably sounds like a lot, but we're going to take it one step at a time. We also kind of call this the ABCs, the ancestries, background, classes, skills, and stats, and then we just have the feats for F because that doesn't really quite work in the ABCs. But awesome. So the very first thing we're gonna do, if you guys have your character sheets, is we're gonna pick ancestry for both of you. And before we get into any of the mechanical stuff, I know some of you, at least one of you, had the chance to kind of look over the document a little bit beforehand. But the way I like to go about this is if there's a character that you just generally like in media, any sort of fantasy shows or sci-fi shows or anything like that, we can try to build them here. So is there anything that maybe stands out to you from what you read, or a character that stands out to you in just general pop culture that you kind of want to build your or fashion your character like?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Yeah.
So the time that you had me play D&D with you,
Mm.
you know that I usually try to build off of an anime character that I'm currently like watching,
Yeah.
or just one of my favorite characters in anime. So last time I made a character off of Naruto, Itachi, my
Mm.
favorite character of that show. So this time I was thinking I would go with one of my other just all-time favorite anime characters, and that is Roronoa Zoro.
Nice.
From the popular show. Yeah, from the popular show One Piece. For those of you who do not know, Roronoa Zoro, he is a pirate. He is a swordsman. He carries three swords. I would probably say that in the show he's the muscle of the group, right? He's not the thinker per se, although he does have some bright moments, especially on like the battlefield. He's I guess he's savvy in combat, but definitely one of the muscles of the group. It's one of my favorite anime characters. So I was thinking I'd build up a character kind of like him, very skilled on the battlefield, very knowledgeable with combat, and definitely a powerhouse, a muscle head.
Nice. Yeah, yeah. You'll definitely want to look at the human ancestry then, for that one, and yeah, you can read over those abilities, and I'll kind of tell you about how they kind of work and how you exactly select them in just a moment. What about you, Maggie? Is there like a sort of a pop culture character, or even just a general sort of like power or anything like that that you might fancy? Um, yeah. What about you?
I think if I had to choose, right now I'm really getting interested in like gardening and farming and get really just kind of connecting with nature. And so I guess I would pick maybe Poison Ivy, not so much for the villain aspect, but just for her ability to really cultivate and grow plants and really like be in tune with them and speak to them. Yeah, I think that's what I'd say.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really awesome. Okay, in that case, let's see. You could also do the human as well, or you could go with the elf, who do have a couple cool features. They do have a secondary feature called One with Nature, which will help you with uh advantage on nature checks, survival checks, and animal handling checks. I know that that might not mean a whole lot to you right now, but just know that you'll be better at those sorts of topics if you choose the elf. And you can also see in the dark pretty far, which is really cool as well. So yeah, I think yeah, either the elf or the human would work well for you, depending on what flavor you want to go for. But yeah, so as you go to write these down, on your sheet at the top, you'll be able to or write down in the ancestry um, blank if you are human or an elf. And when you're selecting your abilities, you have primary features, secondary features, and basic features. And basically, you can choose one primary feature, which for I think the elf and the human, they only have one. I'm going to continue to expand these lists so that there's more options. But you can choose one primary feature, one secondary features, and then you get all the basic features of them. The reason why I chose this system is that if you want it to be like half human and half another ancestry, it'd be very easy to just pick the primary feature of one and then the secondary feature of another. So that's an option too, if you wanted to do that. But so, for example, if I was going to choose a dwarf, they have two primary features, tough and heavy. So I could say, well, I want tough because that'll give me a +1 to vitality later. And then on the second page of the character sheet, in the top right corner, there's a ancestry and background abilities. I would write down the name of the ability in the left hand blank, tough, and then I would write the description on the right hand side of that blank. Um, but so if you're decided, then you can write that down and let me know if you have any questions.
Cool.
I
And
don't
so
have
we're
any.
writing that in the class abilities.
So you'll write this in on the second page, where it'll have arts at the top and then ancestry and background abilities.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
see it. Cool.
awesome.
Thanks.
Yep, no problem.
Actually, I do have a question.
Yes.
Oh, I understand what you're saying about the primary, secondary, and basic,
Mm.
but are these things that we're just? I just want to clarify. These are things that we're just like making up, or we're picking them from a list, or like
Yeah. So these are going to
like
be from a list essentially. So I didn't mean to cut you off. Was there something else?
no, no. You got to keep going.
Cool. Yeah, so this will be from a list of features that I basically came up with to kind of like to show off like these ancestries like natural powers. So a very clear example would be like the fish man. They can breathe underwater, right? None of the other ancestors can do that. That's one of their features. Another secondary feature is finned, which means like when they're fighting with their unarmed, like with their bare hands, they do a little bit more damage because their skin is naturally very like rough. And also when enemies hit them or make contact with them, they'll take some damage as well. So these are like features that I feel like represent these ancestries well, kind of like their natural sort of way. It's almost like if you were to look at like animals out in the wild, I might say, okay, well, if I was making like a kangaroo, well, I imagine kangaroos are really good at jumping, right? Or if it's like a bird, like, well, that would have like a flying ability. But instead, it's with these different, fantasy ancestries. So these are like a pre-made list, and as I develop the game, lists will grow so that hopefully there's multiple options to select from. But yeah, it's a pre-made list if that makes sense. So anything under primary features is what you have for options there. The elf only has one option under primary features and secondary features, so you're pretty much locked in with whatever the elf has. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, no, I get it now. I was looking in the wrong spot for the features, so
Oh God,
that my question was a little bit premature. But
no
yes,
worries.
I see exactly what you're referring to.
Awesome. And yeah, so you guys can write down those abilities. And after that, we will go to background. And you can always shorthand these. It's something that people who play a lot of tabletop games are very familiar with because oftentimes a lot of abilities will have like big descriptions and not enough space on the character sheet. Luckily, these ones are relatively short, so it won't be too difficult. Um, but yeah, once you write those down, um, we will go to backgrounds. And backgrounds are kind of under construction right now. I wanted there to just be something since it's an important part of character creation at level one. They probably will get overhauled at some point, but they just kind of represent, like I said before, more or less what your occupation was before you became an adventurer or where your skills naturally lie. It's okay if you're still working on your ancestry. It's just kind of, I'm just kind of going ahead a little bit. But so we have 5 backgrounds currently: the soldier, priest, forest guardian, student of the arcane, and artist. And these will all give you another skill to be proficient in, as well as a bonus to one of your main 6 stats, which we'll kind of get into in a little bit. But yeah, so they'll all give you those 2 bonuses essentially, and they more or less are what they sound like. So if you're already finished writing down your ancestries, you can kind of look those over. But if not, no worries.
Okay, and I just want to double check that I'm putting this in the right spot.
Hmm.
Okay, ancestry and background abilities. Is that where the
Yep.
background goes? Okay, all right.
Yep. Yeah.
Did you
So
want to know what we're choosing, or
yeah,
is
that's probably a good thing. Yeah. Yeah.
it right? So I decided to choose elf just to mix it up a little bit. Um, and also I just felt more connected to that choice. And then as far as the background, I'm gonna choose forest guardian.
Awesome. Yeah. I definitely designed some of these to be to have a lot of synergy naturally. Awesome.
Yes.
What did you pick for your background, Luke?
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you went with Elf. Elf Maggie. I wasn't gonna say anything, but I was hoping you would go with Elf.
That
Yeah.
works out
Okay.
beautifully.
Glad you did go with the human
Awesome.
and a soldier.
Great. Nice. Yep. Again, very straightforward synergy there. I have a couple other like ancestries and classes and things in mind, but since I feel like I have a strong idea of what you guys are going class wise, like it'll make a lot of sense you picking the soldier background. Awesome. So you'll see that in the background, the skill is predetermined currently, but you have a stat boost, and it's for one of the stats noted. And excuse me, there's 6 stats in this game: power, agility, vitality, knowledge, charisma, and awareness. And these all kind of represent like essentially 6 pillars of just like a living being, essentially. and you may be a lot better at some things than others naturally. These are pretty much going to be determined by your class, um, more or less like what you're going to need to be the best at. So for example, the warrior, either power or agility could be your most important stat, just depending on like what sort of weapons you want to use, things like that. For someone like the druid, awareness will be your like most important stat because your awareness is like how in tune with nature in the world you are. So that's kind of what that represents. And so if you're choosing the soldier, I would say probably power or agility going to be the main ones you want to look at. If you're doing power, that's a lot more heavier weapons or a lot of melee weapons. Agility will be lot of lighter weapons and ranged weapons. And then for the forest guardian, since the druid is the only sort of spellcaster in the game currently, they go off of awareness. So Maggie, I would say you should write down awareness for your stat boost and just put +1 for later when we actually like add up all your stats. And then since you're basing your character off of Zoro, Luke, I would say you want to focus more on power. So you could just write power +1 in your background abilities.
And I just want to ask another clarifying question again, and I apologize, I'm new with this.
No
This is
worries.
actually my very first time creating a character in a fantasy game like this, so I just want to make sure I get it right.
Hmm.
On the sheet that you provided,
Yes.
where we can kind of fill out our character, and you say put +1 for awareness,
Yes.
is that going in the box that says class abilities? Is it going in the box that's kind of on the like left hand side that has 6 different choices, meaning power, agility, vitality, charisma, knowledge, or awareness? Am I putting a +1 in awareness there? Or where on the sheet am I supposed to write that?
That's a great question. So you can put this for now on the second page under the ancestry and background abilities. You can just
Okay.
put +1 awareness. Eventually, we will add it to your awareness, but we're going to do that once we actually kind of set your stats. Then we're going to keep in mind that you have that extra +1 bonus from that choice, so that whatever you kind of put there will like all total up to a new number. Because if we have you write it down now, you'll just end up erasing it later, probably. Um, but yeah, since it's a part of your background ability, you'll put it there first so that we don't forget about it later on. But yeah, that's a good
Sounds good.
question. Awesome.
Good.
Great. This is going well. So the next thing we're going to choose is classes. And there's 3 classes right now. There's the warrior class, the hunter class, and the druid class. And essentially, these are kind of like a part of my way to categorize the classes I'm going to be designing for this game. Meaning that the warrior is someone who has no magic whatsoever. The hunter is someone who has like a little bit of magic and a little bit of weapon fighting, so it's kind of like a blend. Then the druid has all magic, basically. And most classes, if not all, are going to fall into these 3 categories. Is my current design principle currently. So I designed it this way so that while I play test, I can get good information on how do these 3 sort of classes or these 3 styles operate, how well do they perform, and the like. But for you guys' purposes, you don't really got to worry about all that. Just what sounds cool to you. Luke, since you want to be Zoro, I would say the warrior class is going to be probably the best fit for you. And then Maggie, you will probably want to choose the druid class because they have a lot of elemental magic, a lot of which is plant based. So if you want to do pretty much all plants, you can do that too, which we'll kind of get into as we talk about the classes more. Um, but yeah, so the very first thing you'll do is when you select your class, you should have directly underneath, you'll see like a table, right? And it'll say core class abilities. Do you guys see that table?
Uh,
This is in the play test, the like the full document, not on the character sheet.
okay. I'm sorry.
Yep,
Yep.
no worries. I heard the paper flipping, so I'm like, oh, she's looking at her character sheet.
I was. That is correct.
Because I'm in like a PDF, and it might be a little bit different than the one you guys have. Let me see.
Oh yeah, okay. Because I'm in the actual like Google Doc. But you know what
Yeah,
I can do? I can do a Control F and type in Druid.
that will help.
Oh.
Awesome. Yeah, it's pretty far down in the document. The classes are going to be like kind of like the biggest part of your character. Is going to define most of who your character is. So there's a lot more here to unpack. So I'm not going to try to rush this at all. The human, not the human, the ancestries and the backgrounds are a little bit more one dimensional, I guess, compared to the classes, because there's a lot within here. The very first thing I'll have you guys do though is in the table underneath your class where it says core class abilities, you should see where it says HP, probably like to the right or close there, which is your health. Um, do you guys see that?
Hmm.
I see HP in the. Let's see. This is a column under description. Like it says, like the row says like level 1, then core stats, and it has awareness, vitality, D8, HP. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
when I first made this playtest, I forgot to write down their HP until like I recorded a video like the other day, like how much health they would have, and I couldn't really edit it in the Google Doc. I didn't feel like redoing all of it, so I kind of wrote it wherever it would fit. So it's probably in slightly different places for your classes at the moment, but that's
Okay.
okay. So yeah, as long
Okay,
as you
that's
see it,
okay.
that's the important thing.
Yes, I
um,
see it.
Cool. So yeah, the druid has a D8 hit die, means that that's an 8-sided die, and the warrior has a 12-sided die, meaning that you get 12 hit points and the druid would get 8. The reason why we have the die is if maybe some people want to play an optional rule where the main rule is you just take the max hit points of whatever your dice is. So since you have the D12 hit dice for the warrior, Luke, you could roll it if you're doing the optional rules, and then you could get a 1 through 12. But I like the core rule of just having it be the max hit points, because this is supposed to be a very epic sort of fantasy game. So your characters are supposed to be very powerful. So naturally you'll have more hit points. So for you, Luke, you'll write 12 hit points in for now. You may end up changing it depending on stat reasons. Basically, your vitality score will add to this later. But for now, you can write a 12 for your HP. And Maggie, you can write an 8 for yours.
Under the HP max.
Yep, HP max.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, the box or the lower half of that would be if you lost some health, you would write down like how much health you had left. So if you got hit by an arrow for 4 damage, you would write a like a 8 in the lower half of that, but your HP max would stay the same naturally.
Gotcha.
Awesome. So yeah, you got your health, and you also find that it says your main stats for the warrior is power or agility and vitality, meaning that power or agility would be your primary stat, and vitality would be like your secondary one. Meaning that for your class, most of everything you do is going to be based off of power or agility, your weapons damage, your accuracy with your weapons, and that sort of stuff is going to be based off of your power. Vitality is important just because it's going to help boost up your health, since you're probably going to be taking a lot more hits than maybe your ranged counterparts or magic counterparts. It's very important to have pretty good health. So that's just more of a guideline. You don't got to mark anything with that. And then for you, Maggie, um, your most important stat is awareness and then vitality. So once we start choosing stats, you should keep that in mind, because most of your abilities skill off of awareness, which again will help your spells to land better, and will also help when you're trying to inflict harm on them, do more damage, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. So, going below, let me scrolling all through this document on my end. Let's see here. All right, cool. So yeah, beneath the level one, the row beneath that, you'll have a section called proficiencies. These are things that you're proficient with, and proficiency is essentially a number in this game to help balance things. Your proficiency number equals your level, and we go up to level 10 in this game. So you're both level 1. So in your character sheet, on the first page, in the same row that you wrote your HP max, on the opposite side, you'll see the letters PB. That stands for proficiency bonus. You can write a 1 in there because that is your current level, and that's what your proficiency bonus is. And you can think of this almost like when you get like a college degree in something, you're probably proficient in that skill or trade. Thus, anything pertaining to it, you're gonna have a better chance of accomplishing that. And the way that this manifests is if I roll a dice in something that I'm proficient with, I'll always add my proficiency bonus to it. So if you're a level 5 character and I'm proficient in, let's say, stealth, and let's say my stealth is a 2, well, I would normally just add a +2 to whatever I roll because that's what my stealth bonus would be. But if I'm proficient in it, I'm level 5, then I would add a 5 to it as well, if that makes sense. If not, feel free to say so.
I got it.
Okay,
Yeah, it makes sense.
cool. So yeah, you can both write a 1 in the proficiency bonus for now. Um, and just know like that's kind of what proficiency does. The other thing it can do is can give you access to things. So for you as a warrior, Luke, you're proficient in all armor and all weapons. So any weapon, you can use it pretty well as long as you pick it up. Even if it were to go off of agility and power was your main stat, because you're proficient with it, you'll still add your proficiency bonus, so you'll still be able to use them pretty well, even if it doesn't go off of your primary stat. And like for armor, it just gives you more access to different sets of armor. So for you guys, you can just write down all these proficiencies in your class abilities. You can just write proficiencies. Then you can just kind of list, all armor, or in your case, Maggie, I believe you are proficient in. So I'm scrolling down. You're proficient in light armor. So you're not proficient in all armor, which is because you're a spellcaster. You want to hang back a little bit more, do more ranged magic, um, and then you have a couple other things you're proficient with. One of those things will be movement speeds, which neither one of you are a hunter who would get different kinds of movement speed. So you're both proficient in walking and running because you're land-based people. But there are ways to become like proficient in like flying or climbing or swimming, depending on the options you pick. But you guys didn't pick those options. Another thing that you gain proficiency with is arts. Arts are essentially the main way that you're going to be attacking in this game, but there's other things that they can do too. You can think of it as like your techniques. So like in anime, when you yell out your like secret technique or whatever, or your power move, that's basically what an art is. It's like, oh, I'm going to use Dragon Tempest, which is a warrior move where you swing your blades so hard that you kind of create like a tornado. It's like an AoE sort of move you can do. So that's what, like, for you, Maggie. Let's see, what sort of arts do you have? You are proficient in all spell arts and elemental arts. Luke, you're proficient in all martial arts and battle tendencies. Martial arts and spell arts are these sort of general lists of techniques that anybody can learn, but every class will have specific techniques that only they can learn. So, Maggie, you have elemental techniques that only you can learn.
Yeah.
Luke, you have battle tendencies that only you as a warrior can learn. And
Mm.
so, when you scroll down, you'll find a lot of these techniques in your class. The general lists will come later in the playtest document. For now, we'll probably just have you pick ones from your actual class. But so, let me make sure that there's nothing else to mark. So yeah, before we select the arts, you're also proficient in a sort of save. Saves are essentially ways to avoid harm. So Maggie, you're proficient in mind saves. Luke, you're proficient in body saves. So a mind save might be like somebody might use a spell on you, Maggie, to like try to charm you so that like you start fighting for the enemy. And you're proficient in saves against that because you're so aware, because awareness is your main stat. So you'll have a better chance for resisting those sorts of effects. Whereas Luke is proficient in body saves, and he'll be really good at resisting things like being like frozen or like grappled to the ground and stuff like that, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Awesome. And so you guys can mark that on your character sheet where you have your stats. You'll see these sort of brackets with the words body, spirit, and mind. And you can just fill that in, meaning that you'll be able to add proficiency bonus to those. And eventually we'll write the actual number in once you get your stats and everything figured out so we can add up the total. But yeah.
Okay, so I see the brackets, body, spirit, and mind. And
Hmm.
now what am I writing there? I'm doing a
So,
plus or
yeah, so you can just like fill in the diamond next to a mind because
okay, all right.
yeah, so basically filling it in represents that you're proficient in it.
Okay.
And eventually in that space in between the diamond and the word, we'll write in a number once we determine your stats. But
Okay.
yeah, so anytime you get a skill, I should have said that earlier. Any skill that you're proficient in, which I believe your backgrounds probably get, yeah, they gave you a skill. You can just fill that in that bubble for that skill, and we'll add up the numbers later to
Okay.
get it all kind of accurate, so they don't have to like write it then erase it like 20 minutes from now. Um, but yeah, yeah, good question.
Thank you.
Um, Let me double check that there's nothing. Oh yeah, okay. And then you can also choose proficiencies in a couple skills as part of your class. So for you, Maggie, you can choose 2 skills under awareness and 2 under intelligence. So it can just be any 2 skills that are associated with those stats. And you'll know they're associated because they're directly to the right of that stat. So if you wanted, you could choose perception and insight under awareness, then like history and appraise on the right of knowledge. And then Luke, you get 2 under power, 2 under agility, then I believe 2 under awareness. So you guys can just fill in the bubbles for those and feel free to ask any questions if you don't know what a skill really means or, or what it does. Um, but yeah, yeah, skills are essentially like a way, like other ways to interact with the world that has like a mechanical sort of bonus associated with it. So you might try to like push something, and if you're proficient in that, you'll have a really good chance of pushing like I don't know a pillar over on an enemy or something like that. But yeah, so you guys can select those and feel free to ask any questions.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yes.
So next to awareness,
Mhm.
I know I marked survival already. I'm pretty sure I want that.
Yeah.
Um, I'm kind of trying to decide between insight and analyze, but before I get to that, what is meant by perception in this case?
Perception is quite literally, I was going to say perceiving, which doesn't help. It's like seeing, smelling, hearing. It's if somebody's hiding in the bushes and they're going to try to like sneak attack you, you might be able to roll a perception check and see it or hear it before they do that. It might be you're trying to find a secret button in a room to find some secret entrance somewhere, so you got to roll a perception check to find it. It's kind of like the act of you know again kind of perceiving the world around you basically, and how good you can do that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, and then insight and analyze. I mean, I know what those words mean in just
Yeah,
like regular life, but in the context of this game, what is really the difference?
so insight is about like reading people, kind of reading their body language. Is this person being honest? Are they lying to me? Is there something like shady about them? That's kind of more like insight, or even just kind of reading like a situation, like how do I feel about this. Analyze is something you can do in combat, where you actually analyze an enemy to try to understand them more. So on a successful analyze check, you may learn that they're resistant to fire, but like weak to ice, damage. And so it kind of gives you information about the enemy, basically.
Okay, that makes sense. And another question: in both of those, insight and analyze, you mentioned like wondering is this person lying to me, or learning my enemy's weaknesses. Does that does 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 it have to be a person, or could it be an animal?
It could be. I think it probably could be an animal. Especially for someone like you who's really good at things like animal handling and nature, you might understand like, oh, this creature's just territorial. It doesn't really want to fight. It's not like on a hunt and where it's prey. It might just, we might be able to back up slowly, and it might be fine. So you could probably do like an insight check on a creature, and definitely for analyze. Analyze is good for just anything you're fighting. You'll be able to gather information on a successful roll. So you might have to roll a 10 or higher to see if, to understand their weaknesses. And if you have like a +5 bonus from analyze, and you roll a 5 and you hit that 10, you'll learn that stuff about them. But yeah, it doesn't have to be a person for analyze. And I'll say insight might depend, but it's definitely not like strictly limited to like, smart beings, I guess, beings of
Yeah.
higher intelligence.
Okay, that makes sense.
Awesome. How's it going on your end, Luke?
Pretty good. Did you say so? Did you say I got 2 in power, agility, and awareness, or just 1 in?
Yeah, 2 in all 3 of those. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. That's something
Oh,
that may change. Like I'm still trying to figure out exactly what my sweet spot will be of how many skills people have and learn. So you have like 2 more skills as a part of your class than Maggie does as a part of the druid class. So yeah, that's something I'm still kind of going back and forth with on my mind. But for now, you're up.
Nice. Maggie, what did you put for awareness?
I still haven't picked, but survival is the first one. I think I'm leaning towards insight, though.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna do insight.
And this kind of comes a little bit later, but Luke, you have an ability because you're a warrior that lets you analyze people at the start of combat. Normally, you have to do like on your turn, but so it might be good for you to choose like the analyze proficiency so that you can be better at it, um, potentially. But yeah, it's good that you guys are asking though, like, what did you pick so that we don't like overlap too much.
Right,
That's called like
exactly.
party composition.
Yeah, so I went with for the awareness. I went with perception and analyze.
Nice.
Yeah, want to mix it up, keep it fun.
There you
Definitely.
go.
Yeah. A big thing, part of like the balancing of these games is trying to make sure like everybody kind of can have their own sort of role, and like people can like play different like fields, but also like if need be some like overlap here and there. But yeah, it's pretty good that you're already kind of naturally thinking about like what role can I kind of fit into, and like so we can like hit different skills and strengths. Yeah. That's you guys are naturally in tune with this.
So, I mean, I don't know about that. Again, this is my first time. And so, that being said, I have another question.
Yes.
So, I thought I had this, and now I'm thinking maybe I don't. So, I'm supposed to mark how many bubbles am I supposed to mark? Because I marked two, just in the bracket of mind, I marked 2 in knowledge and 2 in awareness. Am I supposed to mark 2 in each of the 6 boxes?
No,
Or,
yeah, just in knowledge and awareness.
okay,
Um
all right, cool.
yeah, if you look in where your proficiencies are, it'll
Yes.
say choose proficiency in 2 skills under awareness. And actually in the playtest it says intelligence. I changed the word from intelligence to knowledge. That's something I have to go
It did
through.
throw me at first, but
Yeah.
I figured it out. But
Yeah.
okay, yes, I see.
Yeah, you guys might see like speed in the playtest as well. That's supposed to be agility. I started with speed. It was like that for months, and I changed it to agility like I don't know, a week before I've released the playtest. So yeah, just know that those are the same thing: agility and speed, and then intelligence and knowledge. But yeah.
Sense. Agility is a stronger word choice.
Exactly. Yeah, I honestly I'm still kind of looking for a potential alternate to power. I kind of like it, but I don't know. There might be a better one out there, but we'll see. But the other ones
Sure.
I'm happy with. Awesome. So I think that's all the proficiencies minus the arts, which I guess you could do now. Let me scroll back up to the warrior class to make sure that um, I'm not forgetting any of yours. Yeah, no, yeah, we got it. Awesome. So for you, Luke, you also have two other abilities: battle tendencies and the art of war. And you can kind of read through battle tendencies. Basically, that's like your specific class list of arts. And there's a couple things that your battle tendencies can do. Like you can add half of your proficiency bonus rounded up to the damage of all your battle tendencies, kind of just
Mhm.
solidifying you as a warrior, as a weapon, as a damage dealer. So if your proficiency bonus was 3, you would cut that in half and round it up, so you still get +2 to the damage.
Okay.
Anytime you use battle tendencies, you'll get the extra damage boost. So you're kind of encouraged to go more for your specific battle tendencies than the sort of general list of martial arts. But if there's a martial art that really speaks to you, then you can always grab that as well. But yeah, so you can pick 2 battle tendencies and one martial art, or you could swap out that martial art. Let me try that again. You can swap out that martial art for a third battle tendency, basically. Um, so at the end of that, you should have 3 techniques, basically.
Sweet.
Yeah, and if you scroll down, you'll find the list of arts. Um, let's see what page would that be on? I think it starts at about page 26. Nope, that's the druid. Completely different part. Let's see here. That's about page 9 for you. And
Nice.
then yeah. So you can kind of look through those. They all have pretty cool names, I think. At least I try to make them cool. And kind of quick descriptions, and then a little bit more information that we won't worry too much about today. As long as you get the techniques selected. And we'll kind of go over those a little bit more when we actually test out combat next time. For you, Maggie. Oh yeah, and then also actually let me finish. You have your battle tendencies and also the art of war ability, which is the one I mentioned that lets you analyze one of your enemies at the start of combat at no cost. So yeah, you can feel free to write those down in your class abilities, and then any arts you select, you can write those down on your second page. There's a whole section for all of your arts slash techniques, and then for you, Maggie, see here. You have the ability called Elemental Affinity. You can choose an element for the day, and the element gains the following benefits. You can add your proficiency bonus to the damage of all elemental arts that deal that type of damage, meaning that right now your proficiency bonus is just 1. So if you chose acid for your element of the day, anytime you would deal acid damage, you would add that 1 to it. If you were level 7 and you chose acid for the day, you would add 7 damage to it. But it's only for that one element. It's not for all the different elements that you can choose. Um,
Right.
and then you can also subtract proficiency bonus from all the damage taken of that selected element. So again, if you're a level 7 character and you took some acid damage, you can subtract 7 from whatever that total is. So yeah, the proficiency bonus is a very big part of characters in this game. It's a way to kind of like measure how like good you are at skills. It's a way to just I don't know, add extra bonuses to abilities and things. So it gets referenced a lot, so it's pretty good to be familiar, with it and everything. But so you can write that down in your class abilities, and then you can also choose um, 2 arts for your class. So if you scroll down, you'll see a section called arts, and elemental
That
arts, and yeah, they have all these different cool
okay.
names. Yeah, if you want to be like poison ivy, there's one called Black Forest Bloom, which is kind of like a big area of effect. You essentially like create like a massive forest in an area, and then it makes the area difficult for enemies to like walk through, so they'll go through the area slower. That's one that would probably be pretty thematic. There's another one called Stick to Your Roots, where you essentially will like assault your enemies with vines and roots, trying to like pin them to the ground. Um, could be a pretty thematic one as well. What else? River Styx, which is you send like a line of like sharp thorns like coming out of the ground towards your foes, and it'll attack enemies in a line, basically. Could be a pretty cool one as well. I think those are the three kinds right now that are all like plant based or grass damage. Um, but there's
Yes.
also a lot of other cool elements as well that you might be interested in. um,
Honestly, I really liked the first one, the Black Forest Bloom, because I'm not quite sure again how the play out of the game will be, but I
hmm,
feel like that could be used for more than just enemies, and it could be beneficial in multiple use cases. So
awesome. Yeah, yeah. A lot of these do have pretty cool implications of yes, you can use them on enemies, but some of them could be used for other creative applications. Like for the warrior, there's an art that you can just kind of launch yourself 50 feet in any direction. And there's another art that allows you to, if you're falling, you can use that momentum of falling to like cut an enemy that you're like falling down onto. Kind of meant to be used in tandem. But you could just get the one that lets you move 50 feet in any direction. If when outside of combat, you might need to reach a 50-foot tall cliff or something. So it could be used to just reach kind of further away places. Um, so there's a lot of different arts that have
Mm.
more than just combat applications. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind. Um,
yeah,
how's it going on
Cool.
your end, Luke? What have you selected your arts?
I think I've selected my art uh, that feel very Zorro-esque. So, Rising Dragon
Nice.
and uh, Mountains Mountain Slicer.
Oh, that yeah, I like that one.
I feel like those are just made for Zorro. I mean, it's almost like you knew it was, I feel like you read my mind. You knew I was gonna build a Zorro type character.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely. I mean, he's a character I definitely love in One Piece. Really, I drew a lot from a couple different like animes because I feel like a
Ah,
lot of these games. Yeah, so it's pretty much yeah. The inspiration I definitely wear it on my sleeve. But yeah, I see in a lot of other tabletop games, I find that a lot of the martial characters using weapons and stuff, they're kind of bland at times.
mm,
At level one, you just say, "Hey, like, what do you do my turn?" Well, I'm gonna attack, I guess. And then level five, I'm gonna attack. 10 up to level 20 is like kind of like the same thing every turn. And I was like, that's so boring. So many martial characters get very little cool stuff. But in some of these games, like the spellcasters, level one, you can like put people to sleep. Level five, you're throwing fireballs, and level 20, you're stopping time and dropping meteors on people. So I went to anime to see like, well, what are like these people without magic or powers doing?
ah,
So Zoro is one of those characters where he's just so awesome that's like,
hardcore.
yeah, it's like let's kind of look at people like him or like taijutsu users in Naruto, and other, I've been watching like even like some Jujutsu Kaisen lately to give some
Nice.
inspiration. But yeah, I find anime is one of those just mediums where they do a really good job of like no matter what sort of power you have, they can make a very compelling case for why that character could be really powerful or dangerous or just valuable on a team. So yeah, there's definitely some sort of inspiration on here for sure.
Nice.
Yeah. And Maggie, have you selected your both of your arts?
no, I only selected one.
No
Hold on.
worries. No rush. Yeah, if you need more time, I can always uh get some exposition on different parts of these you know art and kind of the reason why I chose this sort of format and everything. In fact, yes.
I am
Oh, go
oh,
ahead.
go ahead.
Okay, I'm
I
just gonna
was
talk
gonna
about
say,
random stuff, so you could go ahead.
oh no, I'm intrigued by Old Man's Hurricane. Create a torrent of special rain that falls on all foes. Because again, I could see multiple use cases for that.
Yeah.
Multiple beneficial use cases.
Yes, and it doesn't explicitly say in the text, but if you look lower, it has a condition, and all arts have these sort of this information at the bottom, distance, radius, all that sort of stuff. We'll kind of get more into that when you're doing like combat stuff. But it has a condition sleep, and so it's kind of like I literally just thought like the it's raining, it's pouring, the old man is snoring, and basically, so it's like
That.
yeah, so it's like the sleep condition is what it can inflict on enemies, basically. So yeah, inspiration can come
I
from
like that.
anywhere. Yeah,
Anywhere. Listen, this is art.
literally. So yeah, like sometimes it's anime, sometimes it's old nursery rhymes.
I love that.
But yeah, so that's a good one because that's very it doesn't do damage, but it can potentially shut an encounter down if it's certain enemies that are very weak with their mind saves. You can put a bunch of enemies to sleep and get a huge advantage, in the combat encounter. So yeah, that's a pretty fun one as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a good balance because now you have one that does damage, and then you have another one that doesn't do damage but has a really strong effect associated with it if you end up choosing that one. Um,
Yeah, I like it. I think I'm gonna stick with it.
Awesome. Uh, Fantastic. We are we're making really good progress. I believe. Let me go back up to Warrior. I think that's pretty much everything with the classes. Let me look at the character sheet. Um, I actually forgot to say this earlier, but with your ancestries, you probably got a speed that you can move. I think for both of you guys, it's just 50 feet. So in your character sheet where it says speed, you can just write down 50 feet. Doesn't really mean
Oh,
anything now, but yeah, you can write it down there. Um, eh,
perfect.
yeah, and not we don't have too much more now. You got your abilities, your core proficiencies, and all that. Classes is the most of all of it. The next thing we have is skills and stats, which skills are kind of baked into the sections we've already gone through. So you don't really got to worry about those actually. We're going to just go straight to stats because we've effectively already chosen skills. So if you scroll down to, let me go to the actual playtest you guys are looking at so I can get an accurate page
I
number.
found mine.
Cool, yeah, it's page 32 of the document. And basically, well, you can see some definitions of the stats here, but you also see something called standard array, and it's bolded, and there's like a small sort of a table with it. This is what I'm working with right now for the stats that all characters will start with before the bonuses are applied. So you guys chose some bonuses earlier, like +1 to like awareness or +1 to power. Those are going to stack on top of these, but the core stats that you will be picking from is a +2, a +2, a +1, another +1, a 0, and a -2. This may change, but essentially I want there to be a balance of like, yeah, you're gonna be really good at one or two things, and then you're probably gonna be okay at a bunch of things, and then you're probably gonna be bad at one other thing. So you basically will assign one of these numbers to each of your stats. So if you, Luke, decide to put a +2 in power and another +2 in agility, then you won't be able to use any more +2s for the rest of your stats. You have to pick from the rest that are available to you. Um, but so yeah, you guys can essentially assign these to your six stats, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And yeah, just to reiterate for you, Luke, uh, power will probably be the most important stat for you offensively, since you'll be using swords, and then vitality functionally. will probably also be the next most important one. Since you're using swords again, you're going to be up close and kind of engaging the enemies first. So you're probably going to take more hits than Maggie will, since she'll have a lot more ranged magic and she'll be kind of sticking closer to the back. And for you, Maggie, awareness is probably going to be your most important one, and then vitality. And then from there is kind of whatever you want it to be, whatever you want your character to be good at. So if you want your character to have a little bit more charisma or knowledge, Maggie can put a +1 in one of those. And if you want her to be really bad at, strength based challenges, you could put a -2 in there. But yeah, it's up to you.
Okay, and that's what I was thinking because that's not really what I intend for my character to do, meaning like physical fighting.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely trying to make it where the powers that each like class gets and like what stats are most important for them will definitely have the focus on kind of like one area of expertise to kind of encourage having a full party of people, or trying to have somebody who's really strong or somebody who's very charismatic or very good with knowledge, and just kind of encourage those different roles, so that you don't have like, I don't know, like in a kind of like me and Luke talked about this in the Justice League, how like Batman used to have more of a role, but once they started adding a bunch of other smart people, it started to kind of like it started to be diminishing returns on having all these smart people. Or if Superman is as fast as the Flash, then what's kind of the point of having two equally fast people? So trying to like
Right.
design the classes in a way where it's like they're very good at one thing, um, and then maybe like pretty decent at another thing. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, do you
So
guys?
just to recap, we can do -2 on one, and then kind of assign 5 other points.
Yes. So yeah, are you looking at? Do you see the little table there with the?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So yeah, if you select -2 for one of your stats, just kind of imagine putting an X over it, and then you still have your 0, your 2+1s, and then your 2+2s that you can put in under any stat.
Sweet.
Awesome. Did you get yours down as well, Maggie?
I did -2 for power, +1 for agility, 0 for vitality, +1 for charisma, and then +2 for knowledge and awareness.
Awesome. And now you guys can go back to your background ability and see what you selected for your bonus to a stat. Then you can add that to whatever stat was associated with it. So I believe yours, Maggie, gave you a bonus to awareness, a +1. So you can
It
actually make
did.
it cool. So you can make your awareness a +3. And then I believe yours, Luke, gave yours +1 to power.
Yes.
Nice.
That's 3 to power as well. Yep.
Awesome. And now we can put like the numbers for all your skills and things. And basically, anything that's filled in will have, like, with the circles filled in, you'll add the stat number and then your proficiency bonus to it. Otherwise, you'll just add your stat to it. So for example, Luke, since your power is 3, let's say you're not proficient in pushing and pulling, you'll still get a 3 to that. But if you're proficient in lifting, then you add the 3 from power and the 1 from your proficiency bonus. So that'll be a 4. If that makes sense. You
Mm.
can just do the ones you're proficient with for now, just to save some time. Um, we're pretty much at the end. Um, but yeah, and then for your saving throw, so for mind and body, it'll be the same. Like you kind of calculate it the same way.
Okay. Now I'm a little lost. Hold on.
No worries.
I understand the math part, meaning like if I already have something, then I add the my +3 to that.
Yeah,
Um, and if I don't have, well, really, I just add +3 to everything. But some things will be +3, and some things could be +4 or whatever.
yeah.
What I don't understand is how do I know which ones are which? Like, is it I'm proficient in it because I marked those bubbles?
Yeah.
Or, okay, so the bubbles are what, +4 in awareness, and everything else is +3?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
Because
all right.
yeah, everything that's filled in, you'll be adding that number in the under the PB in your character sheet. So that number will go up. So once you get to level 2, everything that has a bubble filled in, that will bump up as well because you're
Yeah.
proficient in it. So for now, it's just a 1 because you're level 1. But yeah, so under awareness, everything with a bubble will be 4, and then without it, it'll be a 3 for you.
Okay, got it. That makes sense.
Nice. Yeah.
Honestly, you're really good at explaining things without having a visual. Like, this is going pretty well.
Thank you. I teach a lot of people about tabletop games, so you get better at it as time goes on. Uh, but yeah, it's a lot of people find it hard to get into them because most of the time they have that person that wants to drop all the information on them in the most complex parts of the game and gets way too much into the specifics. But I find if you have like the right person kind of explain it to you and just the kind of like the higher level view of it, and you can kind of work your way into the specifics later. But yeah, they can get like a better understanding if you just keep them in like the shallow waters first.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Are you guys all set with your skills?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Great. Um, we will very quickly decide the DC in the top middle of the page 1. That's basically a number that will decide like what an enemy has to roll to avoid negative effects you guys might inflict on them. So basically, the way that you guys have body saves and spirit saves and mind saves, they have to make those two against some of your abilities, and this number will show what they have to roll against to see if they fail or succeed. So I believe for both of you, the number is going to be 9 because it's 5 plus your primary stat. So for you, Luke, that'd be your power. Then for you, Maggie, it'd be your awareness plus your proficiency bonus. So 5 plus the +3 from your main stat plus the 1 from your proficiency bonus would be 9. So you guys can both put 9 there. So if the enemy rolls a 9 or higher, they won't be affected by like your sleep condition, Maggie, or maybe Luke, you might knock them prone or something. So they'll resist that effect. And the HC is your hit class. That's what an enemy has to roll to hit you with an attack. That will be decided by your armor, which will be in your equipment. Um, I'll very quickly, because I'll be honest, the equipment section, it's technically there. It's just not super developed. So I'll just kind of tell you what you got to make it easier.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so for you, Maggie, you'll have leather armor on your second page in the equipment. On the bottom, you could just type or write leather armor, but your hit class will be 15. So they have to roll a 15 or higher to hit you. And
Okay. One quick question.
yes,
Leather armor. You said it goes in what section?
yeah,
I think
sorry.
inventory.
Yep,
Inventory.
inventory.
Okay. Because
Yeah.
I didn't, that's what I thought. But whatever you said wasn't inventory.
Yeah.
Leather.
That's on me. There's so many like words in different fantasy games that will use slightly different like kind of like how for my stats like knowledge, intelligence, and yeah, I think I say equipment instead of inventory. But
Yes. No, but it's all good. I'm rolling now.
there we go. So yeah, you can write leather armor there. And then under HC on your first page, you can write a 15 in there.
Yes, I got that.
And leather armor actually also gives you a resistance to bludgeoning damage. So if somebody tries to hit you with like a hammer, it won't do as much damage. You can just write that next to leather armor in your inventory. And then for you, Luke, you will have chainmail, which is resistant to piercing damage. So you can write that down. and then it will give you a hit class of 17. So it's gonna be a little bit harder to hit you than it will be to hit Maggie. And once you get that written down, oh, I forgot about feats. We'll do this quickly, but not so quick you don't understand, but quickly. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Feats are just like little abilities to help customize your character. So like they'll if you wanted to, I don't know, let's say like play like a blind samurai or something. Well, there might not be a whole class dedicated to that or like a subclass, but there might be a feat that lets you get like a special type of vision where you don't need to see in order to sense people around you, like Daredevil, the superhero. So there's like a lot of little like abilities and feats that would just allow you to kind of customize your character or add, just more to them. As soon as I find
And we
it.
can just choose one.
Yeah, if you found the section, then yes, you can just choose one. I'm
Yeah,
I'm
I do
struggling
it.
to find it. Oh, there we go. Cool. Yeah.
What page is it on?
Meg, what page is it on? 'Cause I'm in the another version of it.
For me, it's page. Hold on. And make it like pop back up. 44, I think. Yeah, 44. And this is like in the actual Google Doc.
Sweet. Okay.
And for the record, I chose Elementalist.
Nice. Oh yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, see, oh you're totally like you got this. You got to figure it out.
I'm just really clear on my vision for my character, and so that made the most sense to me.
Yeah. I definitely like to encourage people like to not even really think about the rules and try to make the character, honestly, because the vision of whatever character you're trying to make will make options just stand out to you, and it'll make just choosing certain things like you look at the background. So Guardian of Nature makes a lot more sense for me than Soldier or whatever, because I'm trying to be Poison Ivy. Whereas Luke, who's trying to be like a swordsman guy, he's like, well, Guardian of Nature artist or whatever wouldn't really make sense for me because he had an idea of what character he wanted to build. So I like to encourage people like don't even worry about the rules, just what sort of character do you want to make, and then we go from there. But yeah, Elementalist is a strong choice.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely want to expand this list too. And one thing I'm working on is specific lists that will be for just each class, kind of like your elemental arts and Luke's battle tendencies, except there'll be these other kind of more permanent, always on sort of features that's unique to like each class. They just weren't developed enough for the playtest, so I had to kind of leave them out. But yeah, kind of I'm developing those right now.
No, but it's cool that we get to really play this game or start immersing ourselves in it when it's in its raw form, so we can see how it develops over time.
Yeah, yeah. I'm very thankful for the people who don't mind seeing the imperfect, not final version of it. Which there's a lot of people out there who are very fine with that. But yeah, but not always are people like that. So it's very nice to have that that attitude when people are trying it out.
No, it's cool.
Did you manage to find this section, Luke?
I did. So, question.
Yeah.
So with light weapons, would that maybe fall with like swords or?
So that would be, let me actually go to the equipment section so that I can not mislead you. Let's see here. So light weapons, uh, no, that wouldn't really fall into the sword category. Swords would be more like versatile weapons. Would be the property. There are like great swords, which are like heavy weapons. Kind of like a Zabusa's sword in Naruto would be kind of like a great sword. Uh, but yeah, we do have a katana weapon specifically, and those are versatile, uh, propertied they have the
Gotcha.
versatile property. Yeah.
And then the love to fight, gain a fighting style. What's that one about?
Yeah. I just thought about something else I forgot. Yeah, as a warrior, you actually get a fighting style naturally, but it would allow you to select another one. So I'll very quickly go to the fighting style section, and basically, let me get here. It's yeah, different like whatever sort of weapon you use, there's gonna be like a fighting style for it. So there's one for like bows or guns or spears. For you, let's see here. I think the dual wielder fighting style would be good for you. And then if you wanted to get an additional fighting style, that would be good for you. But the dual wielding fighting style is once per turn when you empower an art, which you haven't really gotten to yet, but when you empower one of your techniques with your primary weapon, you can empower a second art, a second technique using your offhand weapon as a full action instead of an epic action. A lot of that probably means nothing to you right now, but basically, it allows you to kind of like get a discount on your techniques and how much resources that will use on your turn. Um, so it's like kind of like you're a little bit more efficient when you're fighting, basically, because you're used to fighting with multiple weapons. Um,
Right. Yeah, I guess I'll go with love to fight.
cool, fantastic. So you can write that down, and you can just uh, type in or write down um, the dual wielding fighting style in there, and you can at some point you can look at what that does specifically. If you just do Control F, fighting styles, it'll take you right to there. And then yeah, you'll be able to find out exactly what that does. But we haven't really gotten into some of the other aspects of the game, but I pretty much plan to do that next time when we start actually fighting, and then showing you like all the different things that you can do with arts as a whole, which is what a lot of that fighting style kind of talks about. Um, but yeah, with that, guys, we've done it. We've made first level characters.
Woo.
Yeah, yeah.
Woo-woo.
You guys are ready to adventure. And so yeah, next time I'm gonna have a nice like it'll be pretty like a straightforward adventure. It won't really be a full adventure. Just like, hey, I need help. There's a monster in my cornfields or something. Who knows? But they're gonna ask you guys to help them out, and we're gonna get you guys into some combat, and I think it'll be a really good time. And that's gonna be like the full combat tutorial, as it were. Uh, but yeah, thanks you guys for helping me out with this. Any final comments before we sign off?
I mean,
Yes, I
thanks
think.
for the invite.
Oh yeah, no, thanks for the invite. I think Monster in the Cornfield is my department. I think I can help with that.
I
There we
know,
go.
right?
Yeah, 100%. That's all you. Oh, did you think of a character name, Maggie?
Oh,
You don't have
no,
to
I
right
didn't.
now. I want
Oh,
to put that pressure on you.
I know that's real pressure. Um,
We'll buy you some
I have to think
time.
about it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
you can think on it. What about
yeah,
you, Luke? Did
really
you
like.
think of one?
I've been thinking this whole time. I keep like looking at that. I'm like, what is my name gonna be? Something worthy of Aurora Noah Zorro
Yeah,
character. I,
100%.
I
Yeah.
don't really got. I'm like Shadow Blade guy.
So
I
we'll
would work
catch up with
that.
you next week. We'll give you some time. You're
Cool
gonna,
swords guy.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah. We'll go back to the drawing board on that one. Give you some time to think on it. But yeah, no
Right.
worries. Thank you guys so much for helping me out. And for those of you watching, don't forget you can see this play test. You can try it out for yourselves. in my Patreon. You can go there and you can download it there. Also in my link tree and on my website. It's called Your World. And you can also scan this QR code in the video as well to get to it. And we also have a survey that you can get to on the website as well. Once you've tried it out, to let us know what you like about it, what could use some work, and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, thank you so much for helping us out and just watching and supporting. It means so much to me. And we'll see you guys next time in Your World. See ya.